In the days when King Xerxes reigned over 127 provinces from India to Kush, the Persian Empire stood at the peak of its power and glory. Its capital, Susa, gleamed with towering stone palaces, golden pillars, and royal gardens lush with pomegranate trees and fragrant myrtles. Within these walls lived a young Jewish woman named Esther, known among her people as Hadassah. She had lost her father and mother in her childhood and was raised by her cousin Mordecai, a wise and upright man from the tribe of Benjamin. Mordecai served at the king's gate, watching daily over Esther, teaching her the ways of God and protecting her as his own daughter. Despite living in exile, Mordecai never forgot who he was nor the God he served. One day, King Xerxes held a grand banquet lasting 180 days to display the vast wealth and splendor of his kingdom. On the seventh day, when his heart was merry with wine, he commanded that his queen Vashti be brought before his nobles and guests to display her beauty. But Queen Vashti refused to come at his command. Anger burned within the king, and upon counsel from his nobles, he issued a decree to remove her from her royal position so that her disobedience would not become an example to all women of the land. Later, the king's attendants suggested gathering all the beautiful young women of every province to the citadel of Susa. There they would undergo months of purification and beauty treatments, and the king would choose from among them a new queen. Esther was among those taken into the harem under the care of Haggai, the eunuch in charge of the women. Though her heart trembled in uncertainty, she remained humble and obedient. Esther found favor in Haggai's eyes, and he quickly provided her with special food, 7 attendants chosen from the king's palace, and the best place in the harem. For 12 months, Esther prepared, 6 months with oil of myrrh and 6 months with perfumes and cosmetics. But beyond perfumes, her beauty radiated from within, a quiet spirit, a gentle heart, and faith in the God of Israel. When her turn came to go before the king, she asked for nothing except what Haggai suggested. When King Xerxes saw Esther, he was captivated by her grace and beauty more than any other woman. He placed the royal crown upon her head and proclaimed her queen in place of Vashti. Yet Esther did not reveal her people or her family background because Mordecai had instructed her not to. During this time, Mordecai discovered a conspiracy. 2 of the king's officials, Bigthana and Teresh, who guarded the doorway, conspired to assassinate King Xerxes. Mordecai told Esther, who reported it to the king, giving credit to Mordecai. The officials were investigated and hanged on gallows, and the event was recorded in the Book of Chronicles before the king. After these events, King Xerxes honored Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, elevating him above all nobles and officials. All royal servants at the gate knelt down to Haman, but Mordecai refused to bow. Haman was filled with rage. Learning that Mordecai was a Jew, he plotted not only to destroy Mordecai, but all the Jews throughout the kingdom of Xerxes. Haman cast the lot, called Pur to determine the day of their destruction. He went to the king and said, "There is a certain people dispersed among the provinces of your kingdom who keep themselves separate. Their customs are different from those of other people, and they do not obey the king's laws. It is not in the king's best interest to tolerate them." He offered 10,000 talents of silver for the royal treasury to carry out this plan. King Xerxes took his signet ring and said to Haman, "Keep the money. Do with the people as you please." Letters were sent to all provinces to destroy, kill, and annihilate all Jews, young and old, women and children, on a single day, the 13th of the 12th month. When Mordecai learned of the decree, he tore his clothes, put on sackcloth and ashes, and wailed loudly. He went only as far as the king's gate, for no one clothed in sackcloth was allowed to enter. In every province where the edict arrived, there was great mourning among the Jews, with fasting, weeping, and lamenting. Esther's attendants told her about Mordecai's mourning, and she was deeply distressed. She sent clothes for him to wear, but he refused. Through Hathach, her servant, Mordecai told Esther everything, including the exact amount of silver Haman had promised. He urged her to go before the king and plead for her people's lives. Esther sent back her reply, "All the king's officials know that for any man or woman who approaches the king in the inner court without being summoned, there is but one law. They be put to death unless the king extends the golden scepter." It has been 30 days since he called me." Mordecai replied, "Do not think that because you are in the king's house, you alone of all the Jews will escape. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from another place. But you and your father's house will perish. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" Esther sent back her answer. "Go, gather all the Jews in Susa and fast for me. Do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my attendants will fast as you do. When this is done, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish." On the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the palace, facing the king's hall. King Xerxes saw her standing there and was pleased. He extended the golden scepter. Esther approached and touched the tip. "What is your request?" he asked. "Even up to half the kingdom, it will be given to you." Esther replied, "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared for him." At the banquet, the king asked her request, but Esther invited them again to a banquet the next day. That night, the king could not sleep. He ordered the book of Chronicles to be read, and it was recorded there how Mordecai had exposed the assassination plot. The king asked what honor had been given to Mordecai. His attendants replied, "Nothing has been done." At that moment, Haman entered to seek permission to hang Mordecai. The king asked him, "What should be done for the man the king delights to honor?" Thinking it was himself, Haman suggested royal robes, a horse, and public proclamation of honor. The king ordered him to do so immediately for Mordecai. Haman obeyed in humiliation. Later, at Esther's second banquet, the king asked again for her request. Esther revealed her identity as a Jew and exposed Haman's wicked plan to destroy her people. Enraged, the king left in anger. Haman fell on Esther's couch to beg for his life. But when the king returned, he saw him falling upon the queen and ordered his execution. Harbona, a royal eunuch, suggested the gallows Haman had built for Mordecai. Thus Haman was hanged on the gallows he had prepared for the righteous. King Xerxes gave Haman's estate to Esther. Mordecai was elevated, receiving the king's signet ring, and was placed over Haman's house. A new decree was issued, granting the Jews the right to defend themselves against their enemies on the appointed day. On the 13th day of Adar, they struck down their foes. Joy and celebration spread throughout the Jewish people. The Feast of Purim was established for generations to remember their deliverance. Esther's courage, wisdom, and faith saved her people from annihilation. Her life reminds us that God places each of us where we are for His purpose, and that true courage rises when we trust Him above all fear. Even today, her story whispers to every heart, perhaps you are where you are for such a time as this.